Hello everyone, this is yours truly, JBlue68, and I have some news for you all. Most of you have probably heard the news already. This is, of course, SDCC week, and if you don't know what that is San Diego Comic Con week. And we have a lot of news. There's a lot of news to share. Very, very excited about what I've just heard, what I heard. I listened all day yesterday. Yesterday was day number 3 for the San Diego Comic Con. Today is day number 4, the final day of the San Diego Comic Con. And man, I am so very excited. But before I get into this video, I want to say, please hit the like button, the thumbs up button. Please share and tap that bell so you can get notifications, so they can drop into your feed whenever I do videos like this. Again, please hit the thumbs up. I'm needing to get as much support as I can on this channel. And I'm just very excited. I don't know how else to express it, but just to say this is one of the best times, and I've said this many times before, to be a comic book fan. Let me get a sip of coffee here while I'm talking. I'm sorry. So that my voice is very clear. In the background you hear some music, and that's from Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. Here's a CD here. One of my favorite movies, absolutely. So to set the tone of this video, and in front of you, you see a very inspired setup by a buddy of mine, Mr. Michael Elliott, who actually helped me out when I was getting started on my channel in a couple of videos. And these two figurines here, he had in his studio when we did one of our videos together. And I thought they were really cool. He told me he found these in the dollar store, which I couldn't believe, because these are really, really nice. And I can't believe they're actually in a dollar store. But that's what he told me. He was supposed to pick some up for me, but never did. That's okay. I found them in the dollar store myself about a week ago, and I'm looking for some more to add to my collection. But these are really nice. They look like little chess pieces. I have here, of course, Captain America and Iron Man. Thanks, Mr. Michael Elliott. You can find Mr. Elliott. He has his own YouTube channel. He has two. First is Michael Elliott, and then the other one is The Watcher's Eye. And here is the Watcher's Eye right here. So if you have trouble remembering that, you have the eye right in front of you. And of course, that's the Watcher's Eye, as we know the Watcher himself from Marvel Comics. And that's where the title of his YouTube channel is based off of. And then I also have this promo card from Marvel, Secret Wars Last Days, which has Loki on it, Magneto, and members of the Avengers and the Defenders and different superhero groups, because interestingly enough, this promo card actually is a hint to what's to come in Phase 4 and possibly Phase 5. Kevin Feige did a highlight yesterday, as he always does when he introduces the new Marvel Phase films, on all the films that are coming out, and we're going to cover all those films in this video. But we're not just going to be covering the films. What I'm going to be doing in this video to make it significant is to show the importance of reading comic books, because what's happening in the Marvel Phase 4 films is very relevant to what has happened and is happening in the comic book stories, which is why I always say read the comic books. Reading is fundamental. I love to read. And reading comic books even better, because it's a fun way to read and to learn how to read as well. So with that being said, I'm going to move these aside. Okay. And we're going to get into a comic book haul, as well as description of each of these comic books as they relate to the Marvel Phase 4 films. Well, in front of you see, of course, Black Widow, and I have these broken up into 3 different lots. Let's just get into introducing the films themselves. May 1st, 2020, that's of course next year, will be Black Widow. That will be the first of the Phase 4 films. There are only going to be 2 next year, along with The Eternals, which comes out November of 2020. In between then, on the Marvel streaming network, which I did a video on, a very long video on, talking about the Marvel streaming network, they'll be doing The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Now, Black Widow is going to star, of course, Scarlett Johansson. And we know, of course, that she died in the Endgame. And if you haven't seen Endgame at this point in time, I don't know what to tell you. But yes, she's officially dead. But this is going to be a prequel story. It's going to go back in time and tell the story of Scarlett Johansson, the Red Room, what happened, and what's that place that they went to that was mentioned in the first Avengers film. I forgot the name of the place. But they're going to do the backstory of Scarlett Johansson. Budapest. I'm sorry, that was it. Budapest. They're going to show what happened. It's been mentioned a lot. It was mentioned in the first Captain America movie. Not Captain America, the first Avengers film. It was hinted to in some of the Iron Man films. And of course in the last Avengers movie, which came out, which was called Endgame. Scarlett Johansson will be in it, reprising her role. Also, young actress Florence Pugh will be playing Yelena, who's also a member of the Red Room faction. And Rachel Weisz also will be in the film, and David Harbour from Stranger Things, who also played as Hellboy recently. He's going to be playing the Red Guardian. The Red Guardian is a super soldier from Russia, much like Captain America. It's going to be directed by, and if I'm pronouncing her name rightly, I hope I am, Kate Shortland. The main villain will be the Taskmaster, and oh my God, I'm so glad to hear and see that. Taskmaster, as you may or may not know, is a old villain who has the powers and abilities to mimic all forms of fighting expertise. As he knows all kinds of forms of fighting. He's a master. And very skilled fighter, and pretty much any and every style of form of fighting, from boxing to kickboxing to martial arts. He's an expert, and I think he's going to be actually training most of the members of the Black Widow faction. And from what I'm hearing, the way this movie is going to be done, we're going to learn that there's more than just one Black Widow. Rachel Weisz, Florence Pugh, again, as I indicated, will be playing Yelena. They will also be Black Widows, but there's going to be a whole Black Widow faction. We're going to learn that Black Widow is not just Scarlett Johansson's character, Natasha Romanoff. There are several Black Widows, just like you have several members of the FBI. You have several members of the Black Widow faction. They're a warrior fraternity, or actually a warrior sorority. So that will be really interesting to see how they're going to do that. Very interesting. Black Widow. And then next after that, we will have the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So we're going to... Actually, I should have put this book over here, but we're going to have Falcon and the Winter Soldier after that. And here's the coverage for the Falcon, who at one point in time in the comics became Captain America. And of course, the Falcon is played by Anthony Mackie, whose character is now also known as Sam Wilson. But that is how he's actually going to appear in the Falcon Winter Soldier TV series. And it was rumored he was actually supposed to be in the latest Spider-Man film, but that didn't happen. That will be coming out fall of 2020. Next year. Okay. And moving along will be our next comic book showpiece, which is The Eternals. The Eternals will be coming out in November of 2020, next year. It's going to be very important to get the streaming network too, which comes out in November, because all of this is going to be connected. I know Marvel has said that before with their previous shows, but they're very serious this time. If you don't get the streaming network, you will be lost in terms of the events that will take place in the actual theatrical runs of these particular films. So here we have the Eternals. And the Eternals, for my notes here, if you hear me flipping pages, I'm going through my notes. So the Eternals are immortals who have been here on Earth for like 35,000 years, who will have to intervene for some cosmic threat that's going to be taking place on Earth. And these are vintage. This is a vintage book here. The other one was from the Marvel, what was it? The Marvel True Believers line. But this is a vintage actual Eternals comic book here. And we speculated that Galactus is coming at some point, which I'm sure and believe that he is. But I truly believe that the enemy that will be the galactic threat will be possibly Galactus or Annihilus. And I honestly believe it's going to be Annihilus. The Eternals will have to intervene and save us from them. I'm sorry, that wasn't from True Believers. This is an actual original Eternals comic book. Of course, the Eternals were created by Jack Kirby. This is a True Believers Eternals book here. When the gods walk the earth. And there's Kirby right there, celebrating Kirby's 100th anniversary. That was like about a year or so ago. This is the very first issue of the Eternals. So if you don't have the Eternals comic books, I really highly recommend going to your local comic book shop and catching up on these comics. All the comics I'm showing in this video are going to be key comics to what to expect in the next movies. Definitely get to a comic book shop and look to find these particular books, again, because the stories here are key to what will be happening in Marvel Phase 4 and in Marvel Phase 5. Now, he didn't touch on anything about Marvel Phase 5 films. These particular movies are only based off of Phase 4. Okay, so moving along here, we have the Eternals. Next up, and unfortunately I couldn't find the comic book, but he's going to be, we also will have in spring 2021 WandaVision, but I couldn't find the comic books for my line. For this video, I do apologize about that. Making sure that I'm actually on point and on key here. But WandaVision, of course, will star the Scarlet Witch, who was played by actress Elizabeth Olsen, and then the Vision, who was destroyed in the Avengers Infinity War, who will be played by Paul Bettany. But somehow they're going to bring him back to life. And I honestly believe that Elizabeth Olsen's Wanda character, or Scarlet Witch character, is actually going to bring him back to life. He's not going to be brought to life by science. He's going to be brought to life by witchcraft. Because these new films, from what I'm gathering, are not going to deal with technology and things like, or science, as the first 3 Marvel Phase films did. This new phase of films will deal with the paranormal, supernatural, spiritual, and otherworldly type situations. And in that case, it's going to get more so into the tales of suspense and tales to astonish type of story. Those are the stories that will be brought to the forefront. So that's going to be very, very interesting to see. Next up, I've been talking about this for the longest. The Hands of Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu. And this is an original Marvel comic from 1977, based off of that character. And this is not a reprint. I've done several videos about Shang-Chi, and I'm so very excited to finally see the actor who will be playing as Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi will be coming out February the 12th, 2021. And it's going to be called Legend of the Ten Rings. Now, this is really interesting for the fact that Ben Kingsley played as the Mandarin in the Iron Man 2 movie, Iron Man 3. And as indicated that a lot of fans were not very happy in the version that they did of him, where he was an actor portraying or pretending to be the Mandarin. And the Mandarin, of course, is a legendary enemy of Tony Stark, Iron Man. But in this case, they're actually going to have the real Mandarin, who will be played by an actor by the name of Tony Yeung, who I believe is, I'm not sure, he's Chinese. I believe he is. The film will be directed by Dustin Creighton, who's also Asian. Someone by the name of Awkwafina, female actress by the name of Awkwafina, will be starring in the film. I have no idea who she is, but the actor who will be playing as Shang-Chi will be Simi Yu. That's his name. So, very excited about that. Very, very excited, and also to learn that the Mandarin is actually going to be Shang-Chi's father, and it looks like the Mandarin right there. So, and it's going to the subtitle of the film will be called The Legend of the Ten Rings, and the Ten Rings were actually introduced in the very first Iron Man movie, and that came out in 2008. So that is a sweet concept, and to show how long they've been planning these films, man. You know, they're not just putting stuff out there. So I'm very excited about that. Spring 2021, we will see on the Marvel streaming network, the Disney Marvel streaming network, and I actually showed this book in my last comic book haul, Loki. And I indicated that, you know, there's a reason why they were bringing Loki to the forefront, but this actually spins out of the events from the War of Realms storyline, which I said I was going to do a video on, and I still haven't yet, but I'm going to. I want to do a review of that story. But here's Loki #1, the comic book. Tom Hiddleston will be reprising his role as Loki. Very excited about that. Excuse me. And also, something I indicated before too in the previous video is that I said that at some point I believe that Natalie Portman will probably become Thor. Well, the name of well, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself. So anyway, Loki will be coming out in fall 2021, and here's War of the Realms here, and I believe this is a storyline that they're going to use for one of the storylines that they're going to use for the Loki series. I truly believe that. So that will be definitely interesting to see. Okay, we're going to switch up over here. Switch comics. Let's move Black Widow out of the way. And this is the next comic series that will be brought to the silver screen. Actually, I believe this is going to be brought to the Disney Marvel streaming network, and that's Hawkeye. But we're going to see Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye, but the story will bring actually the female version of Hawkeye to the silver screen or to the TV screen, and that's Katie Bishop. This will be the new Hawkeye that we will be seeing. This is a comic series written by Matt Fraction, came out about 5-6 years ago, I think it was, maybe a little longer than that. Excellent series to read, very, very good series to read, and everyone's been looking forward to seeing Katie Bishop. So this will be the next Hawkeye that we will be seeing. Here she is again, and surprisingly, on this cover is Jessica Jones. If you can see that, Jessica Jones and Katie Bishop. And this was written by Kelly Thompson. So that's going to be really interesting to see how that's going to be done. And I hope I'm not losing you guys here, but yeah. So fall 2021, we'll be seeing the Hawkeye series on the Marvel streaming network. Next up, there's another cover there. Next up, we have Doctor Strange. And Doctor Strange will be coming out, when is that? Doctor Strange will be coming out May 7th, 2021. And it'll be subtitled The Multiverse of Madness. Now, interestingly with that, this will be directed by the same director who did the first Doctor Strange film, Scott Derrickson. And they're saying and I'm excited to hear this. This is going to be the first Marvel horror movie. And how they're going to make it a horror film without being rated R, I don't know. But Scott Derrickson is known to actually do horror films. He's good at it. But it's going to be called The Multiverse of Madness. Now, the multiverse is something that was introduced in the first Doctor Strange movie. It was talked about in the recent Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man Far From Home. And of course, the multiverse basically introduces different universes where alternate versions of characters exist in different ways. Basically, a clone version of you, or kind of like a clone version of you in another universe. Whereas in this universe, you might be a school teacher, in another universe, you might be a mechanic. Well, that's a multiverse. And they're saying that there are multiple Earths that exist. And again, that was said in the new Spider-Man film. And you see the Scarlet Witch here on the cover, and Monica Rambeau. And you see two different Doctor Strange characters. Well, this actually hints to what we're going to be seeing. I believe that's Doctor Strange anyway. Yeah, so it's Doctor Strange. And the Scarlet Witch, played by Elizabeth Olsen, will be appearing in that film. So very excited to hear that. There's a lot going to be going on with her, and they're saying that we're actually going to see her fully realized as a Scarlet Witch, and she's going to come into her full aspect of power and how she can use her powers. We've only seen hints of how she can use her powers, and we've really seen it in both Avengers Endgame and both Avengers films is what I'm trying to say here. So, but we're going to really see her come into her full fruition of powers in Doctor Strange and in the TV series they have coming out surrounding her. Can't wait to see that, man. Very excited. Next up, we have the What If stories. Now, this features the Fantastic Four. Now, he didn't talk about the Fantastic Four in detail. He only hinted to it, which leads me to believe that the Fantastic Four will be seen in the Phase 5 films, which, again, he didn't talk about. But this is What If, the What If series. And the What If series, again, deals with multiverse situations or alternate situations, possibilities of what if something happened in the lives of our superheroes that altered or changed their situations individually, as a whole, and universally. That's why it's called What If. You know, what if this happened? What if that happened? Not necessarily based upon any particular superhero or superhero team. It could be anyone. Okay, and here's another What If book, which I've showed before. This features Magic, the sister of Colossus from the X-Men, and it says, "What if Magic became the Sorcerer Supreme?" So, kind of give you a hint, as to what the What If title will be about. And you see the question mark there. What if Magic became the Sorcerer Supreme? Again, reading the comic books is going to be very vital at this time. I encourage you, if you don't read comic books, to definitely do that. Next up, and then also in the What If series, will feature The Watcher. And as I mentioned, my buddy Michael Elliott, his particular YouTube channel is named after this character here, and that's The Watcher there. The Watcher, we learned, actually will be voiced by, what is the actor's name? I wrote it down in my notes. The Watcher will be played by the actor from Westworld. And I'm trying to find his name now. I know I wrote it down. What is that gentleman's name? It will be narrated by actor Jeffrey Wright. And again, he's from the TV series Westworld, which comes on HBO. And he'll be playing the Watcher. So that will be very interesting to see in his narration of that character. Very excited about that. And the Watchers were actually showed in, Guardians of the Galaxy, which I showed at the beginning of this video. They were shown in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 and Volume 2, I think. Yeah, Volume 1 and Volume 2. So that will be very interesting to finally see that come to fruition. So, and then next up, we have And the What If series, I don't know if I mentioned, will be coming out summer 2021. Then next, and it will actually feature all the actors from phases 1 through 3 voicing their characters, because I think it's going to be animated. I don't think it's going to be live action. Next up, we have Thor: Love and Thunder, which will be directed by Taika Waititi, who directed Thor, the Thor Ragnarok, which I enjoyed immensely. Chris Hemsworth will be reprising his role as Thor, Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie. But also, Natalie Portman will be becoming the new Thor. As you know in the comic books, or may not know, Thor becomes a female. I showed this comic before in one of my comic hauls, and that's Thor right there, who's actually Thor's love interest in the comic books. So that will be interesting to see, very much so. Very much looking forward to that. And seeing Natalie Portman gracing the stage, and she was so very happy, because I remember she left the franchise because she thought that, Marvel was pretty much geared towards, the movies were mainly just brandishing the male ego, and she wanted to see a female actually direct the Marvel movie, one of the Marvel movies. She wanted a woman to actually direct Thor, the sequel to Thor, which was A Dark World. And that actually is the same woman who directed Wonder Woman. The woman that she wanted to direct Thor 2 is the same woman who directed Wonder Woman. So, wow. So she's kind of getting her wish, sort of. And she looked very happy and ecstatic, to be handed the mantle of the Mjolnir hammer that, of course, we know that Chris Hemsworth's character brandishes as the heroic Thor character. So that's it for this comic lot right there. I think I pretty much have touched on everything. One more, no, I haven't actually. So one more lot and we should be done. And that is, again, the X-Men. He did not mention anything about the X-Men or the Fantastic Four, which I believe will be part of Marvel Phase 5 films. But Jonathan Hickman's Power of X, House of 10 starts next week. The comic series launches next week. And this I believe, will be the premises of the new X-Men stories. But I don't believe the X-Men are going to be introduced as X-Men. As you may or may not know, the word mutant was a word that could not be used in the MCU, but now that Disney has bought out 20th Century Fox, they're able to use that. And this story, I think, will highlight what's to come in Phase 5 when it comes to the X-Men. But my own prediction is that when we finally see the X-Men, they're not going to be in the way we expect. In fact, I believe when they finally introduce Wolverine, it's not going to be the Wolverine we've been seeing. Because pretty much the stories have been tampered with by 20th Century Fox in a way that has not been in chronological order. They've been, the stories have been kind of mixed up and just done in a sloppy way. Not all the movies were bad under 20th Century Fox, but they definitely were not all good. But I believe the next time we see Wolverine, we're not going to see a male Wolverine, and we're definitely not going to see a Wolverine played by Hugh Jackman. This is a Wolverine we will be seeing. This is my prediction, that Wolverine will be female. Now, we know in the comic books that Wolverine has a clone, and her name is X-23. And this is a Wolverine we'll be seeing. Laura Kinney will become the new Wolverine. That is my prediction, definitely. When we finally see Wolverine. And the X-Men Red stories, comic books, which are brilliantly written, X-23 is actually referred to as Wolverine. They don't call her X-23, they call her Wolverine. And this is the Wolverine I'm expecting to see in the next X-Men films. And that's my prediction. Pay attention to that. Pay attention to the comics. Again, these are all key comics that I'm showing you to read for the next phase of films. All these comics here you need to read definitely, because that's what we're going to probably be seeing, in the next round of Marvel films. Or not probably seeing, will be seeing. With that, And if this video runs out, don't worry about it. I'll do a part 2 to it. With that, we also have what I believe and was hinted to in Spider-Man. We're going to probably get a story dealing with Secret Invasion. Secret Wars. Secret Wars. You see there? Or Secret Empire. All these secrets. Again, key comics to read for the upcoming Marvel or MCU movies. You can see that there, Secret Empire, with Captain America as a secret Hydra agent. But we won't be seeing Captain America anymore. When they said Avengers Endgame, that's exactly what they meant. That was the end of the Avengers. We'll see the Avengers, but there won't be any more Marvel films, I believe, titled The Avengers, because we're about to get into Fantastic Four and X-Men or mutant territory. Also, we're going to get into Tales of Suspense and Tales to Astonish. So that's what we're getting in. That's the territory we're getting into comic book wise. Next up was the big news that surprised me. Surprise. Mahershala Ali from the Netflix Marvel TV show Luke Cage, who played as Cottonmouth, also seen in the movie Moonlight and also starred in the movie Alita Battle Angel, is the new Blade. That is to be announced in terms of the date when that's to come out. But yes, Wesley Snipes, to my understanding, will have some involvement in the film, but the actual Blade character will be played by Mahershala Ali. He's an excellent actor. I think he can pull it off. I was a little bit on the fence about it at first, but I'm very excited to hear about it. So that's it. That's all, y'all. I hope you enjoy this video. Again, please hit the like button, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can get more exciting videos like this. So that's it for Marvel Phase 4. This is the final day of SDCC. And you can watch it on YouTube and confirm everything I've just showed you here. Not necessarily in terms of the comic books, but in terms of the films to come out. All right, that's it. That's all, y'all. Peace, love, and hair grease.